is Friday, July 12th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very even, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. A little bit of victory, little bit of defeat. And I try not to harp too hard on either one, really. I mean, I'm not too egotistical to hold on to my minor victory, although it was a really neat little armbar. Or actually, I don't know, I was going for an armbar, kind of an inverted kind of thing, but because of the way I had my opponent, I managed to get kind of a Kimura, kind of a broken Kimura, but I had it really, really tight in there, and so it would have broken the arm if I had been really serious about getting it. But yeah, a little bit of defeat too. I went against this guy he is by far one of the best guys in jiu-jitsu I've ever encountered. You know what? He reminds me of a lot of Hickson. Like when I watch his body movements and stuff, he looks a lot like Hickson Gracie. But I got to tell you, like, it's weird rolling with him because the guy is so good that he's like a step below black belt. You know what I mean? Like I can feel feel his mind a little bit while I'm rolling with him, and the guy is like 8 steps ahead of me. It's like where I see like one way out, he sees like 3 or 4 other ways ahead to get me, you know? And it's like no matter what I run, I'm either, you know, I might be getting out of one thing, but I'm like setting myself up for something else. And he did this setup to try and get me toward an armbar, and it was only because he let it go that he didn't get it, you know. And that was the other thing, is that he would take it like 90% of the way there, and either I would A, get out of it legitimately, or B, he would let it go. And so it was one of those kind of aggravating black belt kind of experiences where, you know, at any moment the guy can just fucking get you, but you know you got another 2.5 minutes to roll with him, so you might as well learn something. And so I feel like it was very constructive. Somebody asked me whether I thought that those kind of rolling experiences were beneficial, and I'm abso-fucking-lutely. I don't know how to deal with him, but the only way I'm going to find out is by actually rolling with him. You know, I'm not going to find out how to deal with that guy by sitting on the sidelines or only going up against lower white belts or anything like that. No. That guy is in a class all his own. So the only way I'm going to get there is by working with him and guys of his ilk. And there are a few of them in our school, but I'll tell you what, there's a flavor to his jiu-jitsu. It's like prescient. And I really, when I roll with him, I can only like dream of and aspire of being that good. You know, one of these days I might catch up, but it's going to take a while. I'm nowhere close right now, but I had a real good time rolling with him. He did submit me a couple times, but like 90% of the stuff he could have gotten me with, he let me go with. So, you know, it was one of those things where he was really, really good at maintaining his repose. You know, he wasn't going overly aggressive, but he wanted it. You know, it's like I'm gonna get you. Oh, okay, I'll let that one go, but I'm gonna get you. Oh, I'll let this one by. Yeah, I'm not going to work too hard for that one, but now I'm going to get you. And he gets you. And that's really all there is to it. And so, like I said, the only way you can get there is by trying to roll with somebody like that as many times as possible, and trying to assimilate the information that that's being shared with you by their actions. You know, it's like, pay attention to what is he going for? Is he just going for this, or is he putting pressure on this because he's thinking about like 3 body movements ahead, where he's going to take me around, he's going to put me on my back, and then he's going to get the armbar. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that you don't get that kind of planning from a white belt. You don't get that kind of planning from somebody that just walked in the door. You only get that kind of contemplation by somebody who's spent years years rolling on that mat. And I'll tell you what, this guy's very, very dedicated, and I feel sorry for anybody who has to compete against him at his listed rank and weight, because that I'm not going to say he's like carpetbagging or anything like that. I mean, experientially and in a couple other ways, I think he still might be like a really, really high end blue belt, really, but maybe a low end purple belt too. I mean, but in some ways, his game is brown belt, black belt level, and so it's like I said, it's one of those things where there's like multiple qualities to a fighter, and a jiu-jitsu artist, and for 3 out of 5 of them, he's at a 9.5, and so like I said, I can easily see him getting another stripe, maybe even moving up a belt come promotion time, because like I said, his game is just solid, really, really solid, and I love his spirit. He's very laid back about it, and I mean, I told him when we were getting ready to roll, he's like, you're gonna kill me, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm taking it easy today. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're taking it easy. It's like 90 miles an hour for me. So yeah, it was definitely a pleasure and an honor to roll with him, though. So anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. I've got some stuff I want to get into today, but I'm not entirely sure exactly where I want to go with it. You know how it is. Got a whole bunch of tabs open in the browser. Could go anywhere. And so, in honor of our rolling today, this one goes out to my man. I'm not going to name him, because I want him to be an utter surprise when you encounter him on the mat. And so here it is. Talk shit, get shot, body count. First dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Megadeth with Good Morning Black Friday. It's one of my favorite Friday songs. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I'm going to get into all kinds of business. And the first of which being something that, happened on Twitter today. Apparently President Trump decided to talk about Bitcoin for a moment. And so yeah, here it is. And this is on tribetica.com, and you know what? Let's check and verify, because typically this is a news aggregation site, and I want to make sure this... Okay. Yeah, see, this occurred somewhere else. So like I said, we had to check and verify. We want to give proper attribution for this kind of stuff. And so this is actually on newsbtc.com, not Tribetica. Donald Trump, not a fan of Bitcoin and crypto? Too volatile, he says. And this is by Nick Chong, authored approximately a day ago. So apparently Nick is a time traveler, because this shit happened today. Anyway, continuing. Wow, just wow. Donald Trump, the president of the United... Oh, I almost forgot. Yes, penis. Wow, just wow. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has openly commented on Bitcoin and crypto assets. On Twitter, no less. This time, presumably, the businessman turned most powerful man on Earth's first public comment on the cryptocurrency space since he began his presidency. Donald Trump talks Bitcoin and crypto. On Friday morning, Asia time, Trump released somewhat of a thread on the cryptocurrency space and an odd turn of events. Presumably responding to the Federal Reserve Chair's comments on Bitcoin, Libra, and related topics, the business mogul explained that, quote, he isn't a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. As to why, Trump quipped that he doesn't believe that digital assets are money, adding that they are also known to be very volatile and based on thin air. Many of cryptocurrency's pundits that reserve U.S. dollars and other fiat monies are similar in that they are only worth as much as people value them. Oh my God, I think he kind of cribbed me there. And I'll actually get back to that. Anyhow, that aside, Trump went on to state that unregulated cryptocurrencies can, quote, facilitate unlawful behavior, touching on the argument put forth by organizations like the IRS and FBI, and so on and so forth. Quote, I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. After poking the Bitcoin crowd, Trump went on to bash Libra, writing, quote, Facebook's Libra virtual currency will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter and become subject to all banking regulations, just like other banks, both national and, I guess, international. The American leader's comments come, as aforementioned, hot on the heels of skepticism of the corporate cryptocurrency by Powell, U.S. House of Representative leaders of central banks, leader of central banks, and other notable people on the stage of global finance and politics. Seeing that this recent announcement comes straight from Trump, it is unclear how Libra and the rest of the Bitcoin space will move forward. This seems to be one of the first times that one of the world's most important people, let alone the President of the United States, have commented on cryptocurrencies in a public forum. Yeah, let's check some comments here. Nexo says, instant loans by local bank transfer using your crypto as collateral without selling it. Earn up to 6.5% per year on your stable coins in euros. Yeah, no, I don't think so. And actually, those aren't comments. Those are like commercials or some shit. Anyway, yeah. So Trump, not a fan of Bitcoin, but I tweeted back to him, and I'm trying to look it up right now because I hadn't before here. It was actually quite light. I kind of kicked Peter Schiff in the dick today too. He was saying that nothing is too big to fail because somebody had said that Bitcoin was too big to fail. And I said that also means that gold isn't too big to fail either. Hashtag shiny rocks. And let's see, where the hell did I put that? Come on. Trump. Oh, no. That's not it. Wait a minute. I think this is it. Here it is. This is my response to Trump's listings. He actually had 3 tweets. That first one we read, but here's the next one. Similarly, Facebook's Libra's virtual currency will have little standing or dependability if Facebook and other countries want to become a bank. They must. Yeah, we got that. And international. We have only one real currency in the USA, and it is stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it will always stay that way. It is called the United States dollar. And so this is my comment to him. Sir, you have no authority to tell me what to consider, quote, valuable. The US dollar is only valuable as long as you aren't having the Fed print them like toilet paper. Keep borrowing and spending, and you'll continue to legitimize Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And yeah, that's pretty much my take on it. That, you know, the reason why cryptocurrencies even exist is because the public lost faith in the fucking Federal Reserve. And it wasn't due to an accident, it was due to their own fucking actions. We watched the central banks giving trillions of dollars to other banks and companies, and not us, in response to the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. That was probably the wrong response, and we just said, you know what? Okay, if you're going to be that way, we are going to create our own currencies and deviate entirely from you. And that's not an unnatural response to an untenable situation. And so, you know, it's Their own actions are what caused the existence of cryptocurrencies and will continue to create a necessity for them to exist. And to follow that up, I got this article here on Bloomberg.com. Mnuchin warns Pelosi, U.S. may run out of cash in early September. This is by Eric Wasson and Saleha Mohsin. So, yes penis and no penis. This is on July 12, 2019 at 7:56 a.m. PDT. Continuing on. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin warned House Speaker Nancy Pelosi that the government may run out of cash in early September if Congress doesn't raise U.S. borrowing authority. Quote, based on updated projections, there is a scenario in which we run out of cash in early September before Congress reconvenes, Mnuchin said in a letter to Pelosi on Friday. Quote, as such, I request that Congress increase the debt ceiling before Congress leaves for summer recess. Pelosi said Thursday that Congress should act this month to raise the debt ceiling, which was the first time she offered a definitive timeline. It's not clear that lawmakers and the White House will strike a deal before the House is set to leave town on July 26 for a 6-week recess. Mnuchin and Pelosi spoke twice about the debt limit on Thursday and may resume talks on Friday. Congressional leaders have acknowledged this week that waiting until September to raise U.S. borrowing authority increases prospects of an unprecedented default. Lawmakers are scheduled to be back in Washington September 9th. Republicans, Democrats, and Trump administration officials have intensified their negotiations this week, and all sides say a deal will get done. Quote, significant risk. The Treasury has been using accounting measures to avoid missing payments since the borrowing limit snapped back into place on March 2nd. The department's room to maneuver depends on tax revenue, and the Bipartisan Policy Center, an independent think tank, this week adjusted its estimate to say there is, quote, significant risk of defaulting on a key payment in early September. Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leaders in the Senate and House, also say Congress should raise the debt limit this month. House Democrats have been trying to leverage the debt ceiling bill to increase federal spending caps, and they were looking to negotiate those caps after their August recess. That budget deal, which would cover 2 fiscal years, aims to avoid an automatic $126 billion cut at the end of the calendar year. Such an agreement would help the government avoid another shutdown when funding runs out on October 1st. If the combined debt ceiling and budget deal continues to elude lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans have begun to talk openly of a short-term debt ceiling increase this month while budget talks continue. So yeah, kind of a wrong time to be talking shit about money that people created, dude. I mean, you're having trouble with your own money. You know, if you don't have paper, you're going to have some bigger issues than whether or not cryptocurrencies exist. But yeah, this is why cryptocurrencies do exist. We don't have vacations. We don't have big old stimulus funds. We don't have big debts. Well, some of us have big debts, but we got to offset those with what we make on cryptocurrencies. And if we can't, then we're just jerking ourselves off. And that's one of the reasons why so many cryptocurrencies exist. You know, it's because we want to be participating profitably, you know, to our advantage, in our interest. That's the whole thing, is that, you know, I don't have any real interest in the Federal Reserve. You know, I mean, if the Federal Reserve were to go away tomorrow, it would be tragic for the rest of the economy. You know, people that didn't have cryptocurrencies to transact with. But there's enough physical coins and cash laying around these days, I think, that if some of it were to be introduced into the economy by the owners of it, as in loans, private loans to the public, that would be one way. And I think honestly that would be better for us than some central bank just issuing funds, because the central bank doesn't have any real sensitivity to the interests of your area. To them, every area looks the same, so they use the same building codes, they use the same environmental codes, and they're not necessarily meshed as well as they should be with local interests and local culture. I mean, there are some places that just don't want fucking tract houses. They just don't want it. But because they build tract houses every other fucking place where there's a city, that's how we build them. I don't know. I think that's one of the big problems, is that we don't have additional interests looking at how we design things and saying, hey, maybe there's a different way to do it. Maybe there's a way that's more ecologically friendly, that you don't run into all the bugs in the world on your fucking windshield, and you don't run over all the squirrels and the bears and the elk and stuff like that. That you kind of circumnavigate their typical moving patterns and so on and so forth. I think that those are the kinds of things that happen when you have private interests funding things. Because the private interest is like, look, I kind of like it here, the way things are, so, maybe we can, try and keep it the most like it currently is, with as little sacrifice as possible. Whereas the bank is just like, fuck it, dude, flatten that piece of 20 acres right there, drop some fucking pipes in it, run some fiber optic and some electricity out to it, and build 400 fucking houses on the damn thing. Because we can sell those houses individually for $250,000 and make a shit ton of money out of that land. And again, their interest and their mentality is not the same as the people in that locality. And so they create social dissonance, by forcing people to live in a way that's unnatural for the environment. But yeah, I think that those are the kinds of things that cryptocurrencies will eventually disrupt, because we are the producers of the money. And so by default, we are the owners of the money, in a separate way from a state or any kind of corporate entity. And so how we express those, our will is pretty much contained to how we decide to spend our coin. Not necessarily how much taxation is applied to our every transaction to fund shit that we don't necessarily agree with. Like the displacement of foreign governments just so we can make it cheap enough to buy their fucking oil, by stealing it. But anyway, the point being that those aren't necessarily the decisions that all of us would make concerning, how best to bring oil to the market. And if the people that actually live in the area where the oil is to be drilled and whatnot could have a direct stake in what's going on with the oil underneath their feet, how it's extracted out of the ground, how much of it's extracted out of the ground, the number of wells, the location of the wells, so on and so forth. When they can determine those things without anybody else, pointing down at them saying, you will do that, I think that we will get a more honest utilization of the resource. And that might hinder the profitability of things. And of course, it might make things a little more profitable for some of the people that actually live there. And in my mind, that's far more just. It's really cool to be able to make decisions from thousands of miles away, but you don't have to live with any of the fallout, the ecological fallout, the economic fallout of those activities going on in the locality where the business is actually happening. And because of that, you can make decisions with impunity, and to some extent, that's desirable for the efficiency and progress. However, At the same time, it creates costs that you are not even conscious of, don't even give a shit about, because again, you are not feeling the impact of it. You know, if you were living in the locality where they were fracking, and all of a sudden some fucking natural gas starts coming out of your fucking faucets because you've disrupted the water table and brought gas up through into the water aquifers, you would take a step back and say, gosh, maybe fracking isn't the best way to get the oil distillates out of the ground. And so maybe we shouldn't be doing that. Maybe we should find another way. You know, maybe it really has become too expensive to use oil to fuel everything. Maybe we need to be looking at alternatives with a little more serious eye. You know, those are the kinds of discussions that happen when the methane is coming out of your faucets. You know? So anyway, enough of that rant. I got this one here on Forbes, and it's by Billy Brambo, or Bambro. My apologies. Let me make an adjustment here. Blow to Bitcoin as Fed Chair Jerome Powell issues stark Facebook warning. And I guess this is what initiated Trump's statements on things. This is authored July 11th at 12:59 a.m. So Billy is way in the future. Bitcoin has been rallying hard so far this year, largely due to renewed interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, sparked by social media giant Facebook's much-hyped Libra cryptocurrency project, which was unveiled last month. The Bitcoin price, which had struggled a bitter bear market throughout 2018, has added over 250% so far this year, but continues to swing wildly as traders and investors attempt to find steady ground, and has lost some 10% over the last 24-hour trading period. Now, U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has warned that Facebook Libra project, quote, cannot go forward until serious concerns are addressed, sending the Bitcoin price down 7% over the course of his 3-hour semi-annual testimony on monetary policy before the U.S. House of Representatives Financial Services Committee. Quote, Libra raises many serious concerns regarding privacy, money laundering, consumer protection, and financial stability, Powell warned, and he doesn't think, quote, the project can go forward until these are addressed. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency traders and investors were perhaps spooked by Powell's comments that the Fed's existing rules do not fit digital currencies, warning issues could arise to systemically important levels just because of the mere size of Facebook. Quote, it's something that doesn't fit neatly or easily within our regulatory scheme, but it does have potentially systemic scale, he said. Quote, it needs a careful look, so I strongly believe we all need to be taking our time with this. The process of addressing these concerns should be a patient and careful one, not a sprint. The U.S., which accounts for around 26% of Bitcoin activity, according to data provider CryptoCompare, has struggled with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency regulation, with the country's regulators failing to come to a consensus on how to handle Bitcoin and its crypto peers. Powell's comments could indicate the Fed and other U.S. watchdogs might be looking to clamp down on the likes of Bitcoin in the coming months. Yeah, good luck with that, Powell. Powell added that the Fed is working with other central banks around the world, with India already suggesting the Bitcoin rival will not be permitted in the country. Earlier this year, Christine Lagarde, who has been nominated to replace Mario Draghi as president of the European Central Bank, warned that cryptocurrencies are, quote, shaking the system, something that could signal a change in the ECB approach to Bitcoin and crypto. Last week, an ECB executive described Libra as a, quote, wake-up call to regulators, and it could not operate in a void outside of the typical structure of central banks. Facebook officials are scheduled to speak before the U.S. Congress this month about the Bitcoin rival Libra project, just a little over a year since Facebook's chief executive Mark Zuckerberg faced U.S. lawmakers over the company's data sharing scandal. Facebook officials appeared to welcome the scrutiny, expressing the desire to work with governments in order to meet Libra's planned 2020 launch date. Actually, no, it's a bunch of bullshit. Quote, "We are very much aligned with the chairman around the need for public discourse on this," Facebook spokesperson Elka Lux said in an email to Reuters. Quote, "This is why we, along with the 27 other founding members of the Libra Association, made this announcement so far in advance so we could engage in constructive discourse on this and get feedback." Meanwhile, Powell caught the attention of markets around the world yesterday when he signaled the Fed could soon cut interest rates, sending global stocks higher and pushing the benchmark S&P 500 stock index over 3,000 for the first time. So, let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, I think that Libra, the entire project of Libra, the only thing that it is really intended to do, it's not intended to become a cryptocurrency. And those of us who have been involved since 2010, 2012, we've seen it all. And reading the fucking white paper for Facebook coin, Libra, whatever, when I read that, I heard every single spin, every single sales point that I heard for a cryptocurrency that is now dead and defunct from the 2013 to 2016 period, and some into the ICO period. The fact of the matter is that this is meant to do one thing and one thing only: create intelligence so that they can set up some sort of framework so that they can point at you and say, these are the rules that you have to follow in your cryptocurrency. You can't do what you do with impunity and permissionless. Now see, here's the problem with it. Regardless of what they say, and regardless of what they do, it is still your hardware that is involved in constructing these networks. These coins do not exist without you. And so the question will be whether or not you intend to continue acting within the cryptocurrency community. And I believe that the vast majority of people that are already involved are going to continue to be involved. Why? Because it's their fucking money. That's why. It is their interest. And when I see these government officials talking about, they want to regulate cryptocurrencies, okay, you know what's going to happen? Whatever choke point that you address, okay, so say it's exchanges. So say you address exchanges. What's going to happen then is that they are going to shift to decentralized. We are going to shift to decentralized exchanges that do not require AML, do not require KYC, don't require anything more than an email address and a receive address. Because that's all that's really necessary in order to conduct transactions and exchanges in cryptocurrency. A valid email address for confirming that you're this email address. And it doesn't even have to be a Gmail address. It could just be a valid email address that you can receive support from the exchange should something go wrong. And that's it. They don't need your name. They don't need your physical address. And with that being the reality, I mean, come on now. All of this talk about regulation, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a bunch of posturing. Because eventually the only people that'll really be cut out of it will be the regulators. That's it. You're not going to be cut out of it. Little Timmy down the street isn't going to be cut out of it. you're going to be engaged as far as you want to be, as far as you've ever wanted to be in cryptocurrency. You'll find a way to do it. And there will be a way to do it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into a little bit of music. And we haven't played any Mastodon yet. And so here it is. Oblivion. Here on Coin Metal. And that was Rollins Band with Alien Blueprint. I meant to cut it off at Rude Awakening, man, but, I saw it load up Alien Blueprint, and I'm like, that fits. We're just going to let it roll. Anywho, diving a little further into this, I got this article on BitcoinWarrior.net, and let me check and verify, because this could be propagated. Nope, it looks legit. Alright, and so as we were saying, and it doesn't give us proper attribution. That's one of the things that makes me always suspect it. Now, I bet you anything, if we dig deep enough into this thing, we're going to find, this was originally posted on blah, 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 blah. Anyway, continuing. Is Facebook's Libra really a cryptocurrency? Maybe not. Facebook officially announced its Libra cryptocurrency earlier this week, and analysts are starting to weigh in on it. The social networking firm describes Libra as a, quote, global currency and financial infrastructure, and that it will, quote, reinvent money and transform the global economy. The release statement about Facebook's Libra is full of buzzwords and feel-good terms. But is it really a cryptocurrency? And will it really do everything the company claims it will do? Opinions vary widely. What is Facebook's Libra? According to the company's press release, Libra will enable users to move money around the world cheaply and easily. It will be backed by a reserve, so its value remains stable and will be available around the world in both developed and developing markets. Anyone with an, quote, entry-level smartphone and data connectivity will be able to use it, and the transactions will supposedly be fast. You know what? Just by that description alone, you know what it sounds exactly like? The Petro. Remember the Petro? That's like, if you read the white paper for the Petro, that's basically exactly what it was supposed to be, a stable coin based on a basket of assets. Continuing on. Facebook also published a white paper, which we read on this show, about Libra, in which it describes the reserve of assets, which is a, quote, basket of bank deposits and short-term government securities. The company also provided additional information about the reserve here, and we may go into that. The company established the non-profit Libra Association to govern the Libra blockchain. As had been reported before the announcement, a network of validator nodes forms the association's membership and operates the blockchain. The list of founding companies includes MasterCard, PayPal, Visa, eBay, Uber, Spotify, Coinbase, Andreessen Horowitz, and more. Mostly positive views. Most analysts are generally quite positive on Facebook's Libra, with many responding to the marketing language the company used. Canaccord Genuity's Michael Graham describes the digital currency as, quote, bold initiative for global good. He expects the social media firm to enjoy a modest financial benefit if it is successful, but mostly sees it as, quote, socially conscious leverage of the company's global clout to bring financial inclusion to billions of Earth's citizens for the first time. He believes Facebook's Libra has, quote, the right level of centralization. The company will hold one of every 100 of the votes in the blockchain's governing body. The blockchain will start out permissioned and transition to permissionless within 5 years. Graham expects the consensus mechanism to provide security for fast transactions. The analyst also notes that Libra validates blockchain in general, adding that the, quote, Bitcoin price rallied right after Facebook's announcement. He even thinks Facebook's Libra could displace Bitcoin and other digital assets one day. He also thinks the founding companies which are behind it will increase the likelihood of it being successful because they include payment processors, messaging platforms, transportation companies, and media services. He describes the potential scale or reach as, quote, unprecedented. This guy hasn't been paying attention. Graham does admit that regulation could become a concern, although he calls it, quote, by far the most credible. Somebody didn't do a spell check on this. Most credible crypto threat yet to government-sponsored currencies. No, that's a bunch of bullshit. Is Libra really a cryptocurrency? Independent financial analyst Colin Roach of Pragmatic Capitalism took the opposing view in a post, saying that Libra isn't even really a cryptocurrency. He notes that cryptocurrency is inherently decentralized, but Libra is not. However, he also said that stablecoins like Libra have long been needed. No, not really. Instead, he describes it as kind of like a money market fund that won't pay interest, adding that if JP Morgan launched the same kind of project, the markets wouldn't be so impressed. Actually, they do have JPM coin out there somewhere. He also mentioned Facebook's marketing language, quote, buzzwords and claims about reinventing money, so people actually think they're reinventing money, except they're not. His mention of interest should be noted before Facebook announced Libra. One expert suggested that the company will probably pay interest to users because if it doesn't, it might ignite the wrath of the masses. Roach noted that Facebook does have a huge network and scope for processing payments, so that anyone on any of its social platforms can easily make a payment to someone else on any of its platforms and have instant liquidity. Quote, that's pretty cool because it means millions of people in lesser developed countries can essentially access a stable currency for payment processing, he adds. Even though he does like the idea of a massive network for processing payments, he doesn't think Facebook's Libra is a game changer. He doesn't believe it will transform money and finance as the company claims. Instead, he sees it as basically an overly complex deposit account, adding he doesn't need anything like that, but millions of people around the globe might, quote, love access to what is basically synthetic euros or USDs or whatever. He sees the digital currency as good for people in emerging markets with less developed financial systems, but he's waiting to see responses from regulators. Securities and Exchange Commission probably won't see Facebook's Libra as a security, but he thinks the issuer Calibra sounds like a bank. Thus, he believes the SEC might require Calibra to file as a bank holding company because it will, quote, take in deposits and operate as a payment processor. Indeed, we would add that some U.S. lawmakers issued warnings after Facebook's announcements, but it's unclear what will happen there. Well, I will say that I think that the federal government has already made their decision on this one. Basically, it was my indication anyway is the U.S. Treasury. They literally went to court with the NYDFS because the NYDFS objected to them issuing any kind of it's some sort of like banking charter. And, you know, the NYDFS is like, no, only we get to do that. And the U.S. Treasury is like, no. Well, we're the ones that employ you, kind of. You know, we're the ones that hire you to do the money thing, you know, the money management thing. And so, you know, I think that step right there was kind of opening the door for this, where you would see Facebook and other companies similar to them trying to issue their own cryptocurrencies and being associated with some sort of bank. And the bank in question will have certain charter, I'm sure. But it's funny because what makes me think it was that is because they weren't applying to be like a retail bank, like the application, like the licenses that they wanted to be able to issue weren't necessarily for a retail level bank, and so Calibra might exist as one of these entities that they wished to be able to issue licenses for or to. My feeling on this, though, is that Facebook's Libra will fall flat on its face. I don't really expect it to launch. The fact of the matter is, when you read their white paper and you keep in mind the fact that it is associated with Facebook, even though they claim it's very loosely, the fact of the matter is it does change a lot of things. They're already invested in several different industries, and so their scope isn't just limited to being a social media outlet. And so when you're adding on top of that the possibility of being a bank as well, now we're talking an additional level of scrutiny that needs to be applied. Because again, I don't think it's the matter of scale of individual users that matters so much as the level of reach that they have. They're not just limited in any one realm. But in all honesty, I think that if it does launch, that it should be allowed to exist as other cryptocurrencies do. That there be no federal recognition of it, that there be no federal backing of it. Whatever licensure is required for what services that they provide should be applied on an individual ad hoc kind of basis. So like if Libra decides that, or Calibra decides that they want to issue loans or some sort of securities or whatever, then yes, you bring in the SEC, the CFTC, those kind of guys, because we're talking about altering the relationship here. It's not just explicitly a cryptocurrency, then it's also a loan provider then. Okay? But as far as how it should be viewed, again, I think it's a matter of it can exist as a cryptocurrency. I would say it's probably closest to something like Ripple, where they can't decide whether they're a company or a security, and whether the Ripple company is a security issuer. I think that it's kind of funny how the regulators have kind of stepped away from trying to regulate Ripple, but I think it's their association with banks, existing banks and whatnot. They've got the R3, and that's supposed to lend some additional credibility, But as we find out all the time anyway, in cryptocurrencies, it doesn't matter what kind of backing you actually have. You are still subject to all kinds of issues. Not the least among them, hacks. Because this is software. It's not just money, it's software too. And so anyway, I got this article here on EthereumWorldNews.com. Japanese crypto scene slammed by hack. $32 million in Ripple, Bitcoin, and others sniped. This is by Nick Chong, authored July 12, 2019. Japanese crypto scene sees another hack. Youch. A Japanese crypto asset exchange, BitPoint, has just been subject to a large hack, during which attackers managed to steal over $30 million worth of Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, Litecoin, and other digital assets. The funds were siphoned out of the exchange via its hot wallet, not the cold wallet, as first suggested by some users. The harrowing tidbit of news comes via Bloomberg, and I actually had that article open, but I closed it because, well, I'm that way about Bloomberg. I don't really... Oh, you motherfucker. You know what we're going to do? I figured out a trick with Bloomberg. If you have multiple browsers, you can get more than 3 stories out of them a week. Let's see here. Paste. And come on, go. Go, damn you. Oh, suck a dick. Yeah, please click the... What? I'm not a robot. Fucking dicks. Oh, you bastards. Oh, they're doing captchas now. I'm not a robot. Anyway, here it is. This is the article on Bloomberg. And this is by Lily Nunayima. So no penis. This is authored July 11th, 2019 at 9:56 p.m. Again, we like to go for proper attribution here. Japanese cryptocurrency exchange Bitcoin suspended all services after losing about 3.5 billion yen, 32 million, in a hack that involved Ripple and other cryptocurrencies. Well, that's a bit different than it... Anyway, continuing. The exchange, which is owned by Remix Point Inc., said that about 2.5 billion yen of stolen funds belonged to customers, while BitPoint owned the rest. Remix Point shares plunged 19% to their daily lower limit and were untraded in Tokyo as of 1:44 p.m. on a glut of sell orders. The funds were stolen from a hot wallet that contained 5 cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. It said it hasn't discovered any funds missing from cold wallets. The exchange was among cryptocurrency operators ordered by Japan's Financial Services Agency to improve internal controls following the 2018 hack of CoinCheck. Yeah, that's pretty big right there. You know, because we've seen where, I think it was BitThumb too, they had the same issue where they had been warned by the Japanese financial services, hey man, get your shit more secure. And less than, I think it was like 2 months later, they'd warned them for like 6 months, really. And they didn't do a damn thing to change it. And 6 months later, they get fucking hacked. Anyway, I took a diversion from this. But let's get back to it because it kind of expands on some of the points I was talking about. Interestingly, the broader crypto, and this is back to the article, Japanese crypto scene slammed by hack, 32 million in XRP, blah, blah, blah. Revealed in an announcement published via Remix Point, my apologies there. Remix Point. The upstart exchange claimed that around 70% of the funds lost belong to its customers, with the rest coming from company coffers. BitPoint, dear customer, thank you very much for your patronage of BitPoint Japan. Today we have stopped the remittance, sending and receiving, depositing services from 6:30, but we will stop all services, including transactions and sending and receiving, from around 10:30. We apologize for the great inconvenience to our customers, but we appreciate your understanding and cooperation. The official service resumption date will be announced separately on our website. We will post information on our website from time to time on the website, so it is hoped that customers will carefully check the announcement from us. Let's see here. Due to this hack, BitPoint has been mandated to cease its operations for the time being, including deposits and withdrawals and trading at large. It is unclear how or if the exchange will reimburse its customers. Unfortunate timing. This comes at an unfortunate turning point in the Japanese crypto exchange. You see, ever since the monumental CoinCheck hack, which incurred the loss of $500 million worth of crypto assets named ZEM, or NEM, the local financial regulator has been very stringent in handling the cryptocurrency space. The Financial Services Agency, FSA, as the entity is known, has developed a serious licensing system for wannabe trading platforms. The thing is, Bitcoin had purposely been somewhat verified, or purportedly been somewhat verified by the FSA, but had received a, quote, business improvement order. With the agency currently managing a list of over 100 upstart crypto firms wanting to sortie into the exchange space, the FSA may become even more heavy-handed than it already is, potentially resulting in the death of some crypto platforms, and thus investor interest in the nation. A digital asset-friendly nation. It is important to note that Japan has been quite friendly to the cryptocurrency space overall. As reported by this outlet previously, Kazuro Tokita, the president of the FSA-regulated local crypto exchange Decurrent, in April unveiled a system that would allow for consumers to hold a Swiss card, which is used on East Japan railway companies JR East Metro and Shinkansen systems to top up their balance with digital assets. Also, Rakuten, an e-commerce heavyweight in the nation, has acquired a Bitcoin exchange and intends to integrate direct cryptocurrency payments into its stores. BitCamera, a large electronics retailer too, has embraced cryptocurrency, accepting Bitcoin in its stores across the nation. Yeah. So, Japan having issues. But yeah, you gotta wonder about Facebook in all of this, because Facebook has endured several hacks over the not so large span. I think within the last 2 years they've had several hacks, and so if you were to include the incentive of getting a hold of somebody's monetary value, I think it would be even more tempting to try and hack Facebook. So yeah, I have my doubts about their foray into crypto. Anyway, this is one of the things that they have to worry about, and it's not going to matter the size of Facebook. I think that people will probably target Mark Zuckerberg if they were severely impacted with some issue with regard to their currency. And so I got this article on Cointelegraph.com. It's by Max Body, so yes, penis. It's authored 37 minutes ago, but let's refresh this. I think it might be a few hours ago. Actually, it was authored July 11th, 2019. So here it goes. Mob burns down purported crypto Ponzi schemer's house in South Africa. An angry mob in Ladysmith, South Africa has reportedly torched the residence of Shvilele Mubatha, known as Skumza, a manager of alleged crypto Ponzi scheme Bitcoin wallet. The mob was likely a collection of victims who lost money through Bitcoin wallet, according to a report by local newspaper Ladysmith Gazette on July 10th. The local police have been investigating an unnamed Ponzi scheme in Ladysmith, as reported by major South African news site IOL. According to the report, however, Bitcoin wallet minimally appears to have made get-rich-quick promises to prospective investors. An unnamed community member reportedly told the publication that Bitcoin wallet promised to double investors' money within a matter of weeks. Quote, "From what we have heard, Bitcoin wallet is an investment, not a pyramid scheme. He, the owner, has spoken to the media that he invests the money in Bitcoins and is able to double that money within 3 weeks. If you put in an amount of R100,000, whatever R's are, you get back an amount of our 200,000 in 15 days. As per an earlier announcement, Skumza told Ladysmith Gazette just 5 days prior to the arson event that he was simply a manager without knowledge or power over the company's alleged back-end troubles. Quote, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know online or how this system works. I have to be workshopped. The owner of the company is operating the online business. I was only the manager of the Ladysmith branch." Skumza further claimed that he himself lost money and is now out of a job. Quote, "I won't continue working. I don't have cash anymore. The owner says people must go online and collect their money online. I myself have invested my money in there, submitted my banking details online, and now I am also waiting." Whatever. Tensions have been reportedly been high in the area, with communications officer receiving complaints about crowds, public disturbance, and traffic congestion. Moreover, clients reportedly engage in a scuffle when Bitcoin Wallet's staff turned them away while they tried to enter the company offices. Skumza reportedly said in a radio interview on July 9th that Bitcoin Wallet's customers were being defrauded by a presumably unrelated scam. The scam reportedly targeted people who were creditors of Bitcoin Wallets, saying they needed to log on to a website to collect their funds. As reported by Cointelegraph on July 2nd, South Africa was trading Bitcoin at almost $11,000 on the crypto exchange Luno, which was 10.5% higher than Cointelegraph's price index at the time. Adamant capital partner Tour de Meester, however, cautioned that the listed price likely represents, quote, inflation that is simply not recognized by the government. Yeah, it's not up to the government to recognize the inflation. It's up to you. Let's see what the... Oh. Yeah, this whole thing is kind of silly. It kind of reminds me of BitConnect in a lot of ways. And this is the problem with trying to restrict your your citizens from participating in the global crypto market. You end up with localized scammers who take their fucking money. That's all there is to it. You know, the more regulation you see, the more stringent a government stance on this, the more scams you're going to see, because people aren't going to stop. They're going to continue to look, and they're going to find scammers along the way. They might lose a little money, but in the process, they're also going to find some successes. They're going to find some legitimate retailers who are able to do business and not rip them off. And that's all that's really required, is an honest broker on both ends of the transaction. And when you limit it to your own interests, and when your own interests are directly involved, and it only requires you and one other additional interested party in order to conduct commerce, it takes out all the necessity to even refer back to a government. But again, the harder governments try to ban this, the more they try to tax it, the more they try to regulate it, the more it is going to go into the shadows, and the more people are going to get hurt. We've already seen this play out with the drug market. As soon as drugs became illegal, we saw it, and as a matter of fact, we went into that without blinders. There's a lot of people that would like to point at the situation with the drug war and say, oh, you know, this was an unintended consequence. How could we ever have foreseen this? And yeah, whatever. Not only had we had our previous history, our previous couple decades of history with the fallout of the prohibition of alcohol in the United States to look back on and say, yep, people died of fucking bathtub gin and all kinds of other shit because we kicked them off the market shelves, because we kicked the market into the corners, into the dark corner, and drove the price of fucking alcohol through the roof, drove the scammers through the roof, drove deaths associated with alcoholism through the roof. It didn't serve anybody's real interest, except if you were making alcohol and you were a legitimate participant. If you were willing to fulfill on both ends, the guy give you money and you give him alcohol, everybody happy, that was fine. And it proliferated in the background while all this shit was going on. That is what's going to happen in cryptocurrencies if you try and put any kind of ban or any kind of prohibition, and this is a perfect example of it. You know, as a matter of fact, with regard to the drug market and the drug war and all the bullshit that's caused, Timothy Leary himself, when they were talking about prohibiting LSD and all that other stuff, he told them what would happen. He told them, and when I say them, I mean like Congress. His testimony was that you would see people having bad trips because the drugs that they were getting would not necessarily be the drugs that they thought they were getting, that people would be hurt by it. And that's exactly what's happened. So I would like to make the same refrain to you now concerning cryptocurrencies. The more that states and nations try to intervene in the cryptocurrency space, the more dangerous they are going to make it for everyone. And I don't think we need to endure that shit for another 80 years for us to get back to it, get back to reality, and understand that is what will happen the more we try and prohibit it. Because I'll tell you what, you're not actually going to stop shit. You're just going to push people into the corner, push people into the dark. They're going to get darker and darker and darker, but they're going to continue to do what they're doing. And there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. And the losers in this, I believe, will include governments. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down some more music. And where to go next? You know, we haven't been playing any Power Man for a long time, and so here it is. Supernova Goes Pop, here on Coin Metal. And that was Meshuggah with Soul Burn. Yeah, as far as where else we're going tonight, I got one more that I wanted to throw down here. I'm trying to find it. Not that one. Not that one. We already covered that. We are not going to cover that one. It's not necessarily something that I wanted to cover. We already covered that. Damn it, Jim. Oh, here it is. This one actually touches back to my last episode, but it also kind of goes forward with what we've been talking about on this one. And so this is on newsbtc.com. Bitcoin becomes, quote, geopolitical chess piece as global leaders air their opinions on crypto. And this is by Cole Peterson, authored approximately, come on, tell me, about 7 hours ago. So yes, penis. Bitcoin and the aggregated crypto markets have been facing tremendous volatility over the past few days that has been exacerbated by comments made about BTC and the nascent crypto markets by world leaders and politicians, who undoubtedly will sway how U.S. policy is aimed at the crypto markets from a regulatory standpoint. Now, analysts are noting that U.S. President Donald Trump and U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's comments on Bitcoin are bullish, as they validate the assets and designate them as, quote, geopolitical chess pieces. Bitcoin gains significant media coverage as political heavyweights discuss BTC. Bitcoin's recent volatility has been widely attributed to the deluge of commentary on it by economic and world leaders who tend to shy away from discussing nascent technologies. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell spoke about Bitcoin during a Senate testimony earlier this week, where he noted that the advent of cryptocurrencies could put the U.S. in a new era of banking. Quote, "If we do see widespread adoption, you could see a return to an era in the United States where we had many different currencies in the so-called national banking era," Powell said during his testimony. Powell explained. Furthermore, Powell also noted that Bitcoin's main use at the moment is as a speculative store of value, which would make it comparable to gold. One day after these comments were made, U.S. President Donald Trump also aired his thought on Bitcoin for the first time ever, noting in a tweet that he is not a fan of BTC due to its use for illegal activities. Quote, "I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity," he said. Bitcoin becomes a chess piece in global politics. Although it is clear that world leaders are split on what they think about Bitcoin, it is also clear that what was once considered a small fad with a cult following has now found its way onto the center of the global stage, which seems to validate it as having the potential to shake up the current system. Luke Martin, a popular cryptocurrency analyst, spoke about all the talk about Bitcoin on the global stage in a recent tweet, saying that the big question now is which country will be the first to promote Bitcoin. Quote, "The intriguing part about this is that it creates opportunity for another nation to publicly announce support of Bitcoin, from taboo to fringe finance to now a geopolitical chess piece that governments and central banks have to consider. Which nation will be the first to promote Bitcoin?" Martin said. As Bitcoin continues to garner widespread adoption and global leaders continue to hear more about it, it is highly likely that the world will soon know whether or not Bitcoin will begin making its way to the forefront of the political scene. You're goddamn right it is. If it nothing else, it provides a forum for the entire planet, governments, bankers, individuals to compete on. There is no set fate. There is no individual that is granted the next block reward. That is up to the whole game and all the players involved. You know, that's why I keep saying on this show, get in the game, kid. Just fucking get in the game. Right now, the hash level for Bitcoin is the highest it's ever been and is continuing to grow. And that is a testament to your participation in it. Not just some banks, not just some governments, your participation in it. Because it exists because of you. If you didn't value it, it wouldn't exist. That's pretty much all there is to it. If people didn't value it, it would not exist because they would not mine it. But they do. And the same can be said for all of the altcoins out there, is that somebody believed in them enough to dedicate the hardware, the electricity, the bandwidth, and the electricity and the time and the effort to it. If they did not, those coins would not exist. Their networks would not exist, but they do. And that is a testament to your confidence in them. Not Donald Trump's or not Jerome Powell's. Yours. You author it. You patch it. You are the coin. You are the market. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, really, because, you know, in other markets that we've had up until date, the majority of them we didn't have that level of control in. I mean, you know, if you were ever in a position where you could call the rate for something, okay, you were in that position. You were in the same position that everybody in cryptocurrencies is in now, where you get to set the terms of the commerce at hand. But now that power is being extended to some tribe in Zimbabwe or somewhere else. I say tribe very uneducated and all that about the rest of the world, but the point of the matter being that the grouping of people is down to the individual and as big as the planet. I mean, that's really the quote-unquote scale that this thing operates at. So, when people say that Bitcoin needs to scale up, no. Bitcoin scaling up would be you going on to Amazon or some other website, buying some fucking miners, putting them in your garage or wherever else, and firing those bad boys up and dedicating the hashing power to a cryptocurrency. That's quote-unquote scaling. And people worry about the bandwidth throughput and the hardware capabilities. No. Those are things that are determined by the market. The market said, we want to go from CPUs to GPUs, and they bought the shit out of video cards and they pissed off all the gamers, but it happened. And then they said, we want to go to ASICs. And so they made them, and people bought them, and now the fucking cryptocurrency networks are laden with ASICs. They exist because we want them. Not because anybody else told you to get them. And it is with that, I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. Watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I haven't even selected anything. So I'm going through right now trying to find something to throw down. And it's at times like this, I kind of wish I had a little more interface with my listeners, because then they could just recommend something. But we'll get there eventually, I'm sure. And so as far as our last dance is concerned, let's see, we got a little while to go. So let's go ahead and throw down a little bit of Machine Head here. Aesthetics of Hate, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent weekend. Good night.